Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is I once again, Antonov, President of the United Republic of Obscurium, coming to you today from somewhere near Kiel, Germany, on this very special day, the 11th hour, almost the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, on which today, 105 years ago, if I'm correct, the First World War came to an end. Now, people most of the time remember the Second World War, this great event in recent European history, but thankfully the First World War, unlike some other important conflicts, has not yet been forgotten. At least in most parts of Europe. Whereas in Germany, I'm sad to say, it hasn't exactly been forgotten, but it has been neglected for quite some time. I stand here today and I don't think anyone else will know immediately why I'm standing here, even with the flag, even with the poppy. Fair enough, the poppy is a British thing, but still. The First World War in Germany has been a bit forgotten and severely neglected. Yes, it is sad to see, especially since, of course, the Second World War is much more impactful on recent German history, but still, the First World War set the stage for the Second World War. So many things that are still important today started out during that conflict. Not just for German history, it was especially important for European history as a whole. The rise of the Soviet Union, all the little wars that were continued after the fall of the Soviet Union, all of that started during the First World War. Even the conflict between Israel and Palestine, even that started during the First World War, of the British promising both sides that yes, they'd get a free and independent state, and look where we are now today. All of that started during the First World War. You will of course know the story. It's a war between the large powers in Europe, millions dead, both military and civilians, and for what? You know, the Second World War, when we think of the Second World War, we think of, yes, the free world fighting against the evil Nazis. But when we think of the First World War, there wasn't really any evil power that the free world was trying to defeat. It was very much a traditional European war, that is, the great powers fighting against each other. At least, it was that at the beginning. Even the beginning of the war kind of goes into the core of what the war would later become, a war of liberation and of national awakening for many of Europe's little countries and neglected nations which had not gained their independence yet. You know, Yugoslavia, Ukraine, the Baltic states, Poland, especially Poland. Oh yes. All of that started during the First World War. And when I said it even goes back to the beginning of the war, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, which sparked the war in the first place, even that was out of nationalism. The assassination was motivated by Serbian nationalism. So even there we have those little sparks of nationalism which tied to the greater history of the war. But it very much was a turn of times, from the large traditional European wars between royalty and important names wanting power for themselves, to the modern wars of nations and creeds, which would later culminate in the Second World War, and unfortunately still hasn't come to an end today. I mean, we in Europe like to claim that Europe is a peaceful place nowadays, but look at Ukraine. Europe is a much more peaceful place than it was in 1945, that's for sure, but peace in Europe has not yet been established, unfortunately. So on this Armistice Day, let us remember the millions of dead that cry out today for peace. Let us cry out for peace as well, and let us have that peace. Let us have peace in Europe, and let us have peace in the Near East, and let us have peace in the whole world. Because for God's sake, the bloody war is not going to get us anywhere now, is it? And think about it. You know it is true. And now, as the 11th hour has actually arrived, almost, I would like to ask for a minute of silence to remember the dead of the First World War in particular, and of recent conflicts as well in general. Starting now. Thank you. So with that, I wish everybody a happy Armistice Day, and don't ever let this day be forgotten.